Fans of the Horus Heresy, thank you very much for joining me for a how-to video. And this video is quite a big deal for peculiar reasons I will talk about soon. I'm going to be building this model in this black box. This, for those of you who don't recognise the packaging, is a miniature from the Horus Heresy character series. This is a model I've actually had a long time. I've had this probably 2 years, oh dear, and I've not got around to finishing it off. And it symbolically is the last unbuilt Horus Heresy model I have in my collection at the moment. So get a load of that. I've been building these things for ages. That's what one of the topics is going to be about in this video, my weird and wonderful collection experience for Horus Heresy. So what we're going to do in this video is I've trimmed all the parts up, I've cleaned them up, they're ready to assemble. So I'm going to actually go through the final assembly of this model. Part of it's built already, and that's because it was kind of like in a part built state. This is why I've not actually done a separate review of this. And as well as doing this model build, I've got some topics I'm going to chat about. So that's the plan. Right, okay, so I've teased you enough there. Let's actually have a look to see what's in the black box. As I say, this is the last of my Horus Heresy models I've not yet built. I've built three big armies, Marine Legion, Iron Hands, the Mechanicum, and then Solar Auxilia. This is my Archmagos Draykavac, which is my warlord for my Mechanicum army. It comes in this really nice box. There you go, Archmagos Draykavac. Let's get him out. I mean, these boxes are lovely. You have to give it to Forge World. They are really nice. And you get this little picky thing, Archmagos Draykavac. No instructions. This one actually could have done with some instructions, but we don't get it. Anyway, I have figured it out. So here's the parts, and here we have the packet, which is full of parts. Now, we'll move on to that in a moment. Let's just talk about the tools I'm going to use in this video. It's mainly going to be gluing, pinning, and sticking, with some heat bending as well, because there's some great heat bendy bits on this model as well. So let's start with the dusty brush, a pair of wire cutters, and then this thing here, which is my spike, which is useful for gluing. Two types of glue. We've got some medium thin super glue. We've got some thick super glue as well. For pinning, we've got two thicknesses of piano wire. We've got this, which is about 1/3 of a millimetre, about 1/4 of a millimetre thick. So those are my tools. Well, I've got a couple of, and then just in case we need any quick set, we've got a can of super glue accelerant. And is that everything? Nearly. Oh, I've got a couple of other essentials. So we have a cup of tea. There you go, you can see that's tea. This is my little National Space Centre mug. Today I've got some Yorkshire tea. I've run out of my usual Captain Scott tea bags. To fill in, I've got myself some Yorkshire tea bags, which is a good brew to use as an alternative to my usual favourite. And then finally, a piece of Mrs. Leakycheese's flapjack. Now this is badass flapjack. As well as being a world-class geoscientist, Mrs. Leakycheese makes absolutely mean flapjack. She also makes really good crispy cake and banana bread. So yeah, that's to keep me going while we're doing this video. I'll have to cut out the chewing bits. Let's have a look at the miniature. Right, so there's two main components to the Archmagos Draykavac kit. There is the abeyant, which is this guy, which I also like to call his pulpit of technology. This is three parts I've already assembled. We've got the dais, shall I say. We've got this kind of like reactor plate or reactor vessel cover, which is that bit of the skull. And then there's the mechadendrite trail is another part, and that's been stuck on there. So 3 pieces have already been assembled there. A 60mm base. We've then got the Archmagos model itself. Now, I've already done most of the assembly work on this, so most of the work we're doing here is going to be on the abeyant itself. Take a quick look at this model. I'm not going to focus too much on it. We'll come to that in the actual model review, but it's an awesome model. The detail is incredible. I've given this one the non-generic head, which is like the hooded cowl, so kind of like a humanish looking Magos, because I generally play Loyalist. You can actually see my Archmagos head, funnily enough, and if you go to searching around on YouTube and find, or maybe you might need to look on Twitter for this, find Alexis Ego Queen's channel and find her video and posts about her conversion she made for Remlays of 40k theories. You'll see that it's got an Archmagos Draykavac head. Well, that was a donation from me to her to do that conversion. If you want to see my Draykavac head, that's where it's at. I'll try find it and leave a link in the description. But yeah, so I went for this cowl because I wanted to be loyalist. We've got a base, So this dude is going to go on the base with his little trailer bit, and then that nicely fits in there. Then we've got the three faces of the battle pulpit. We've got, there we go, this one, and the detail on these is beautiful. You've got the Latin inscriptions on the side. I don't know, I'm going to have to do some little bit of research to understand what the Latin is saying. Fantastic detail, it really is an absolute stunner, this model. And there's the front of it. Vox Bellicosa, the voice of war. Nice. Awesome details there. Then there's a load of peripheral bits. These took ages to clean up this afternoon because they're all tubey, and wherever you've got mould lines or mould slips on tubes, there's ages of work. There's 4 of these puppies. It's all braces or van braces on the underside of the pulpit. There are 4 mechadendrites, which are going to dangle around, trailing out the back of this thing. I think these connect into these vents here. There is 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go, the 4 little happy skull faces. These are, again, these are like cyber skulls, and these are going to attach into the base of this thing, as you can see, and wangle around. We've got the Archmagos' power axe, because, you know, this is Mechanicum. Power axes are the in thing. Of course, this could be a Paragon blade in the army lists. And then finally, we've got 2 more mechadendrites that are going to attach to various parts of the Archmagos himself. Oh, and then finally, we've got a selection of weapons. So these weapons mount in this aperture here on the abeyant, and you get a conversion beamer, a graviton gun, a melter gun, and then a rotor cannon. I might do this later. I don't know if I'm going to do the weapon bit now, so that probably need magnetizing. We'll see. So let's get started then. Now, where do I start with this? Right, so I think we're going to start doing some work on the actual abeyant itself. So chat topics. Right, so what have I got? Let me have a look at my little list. I've got a fair few chat topics to see if we can get through. Well, we've got about an hour here, so we may get through these, we may not. I'm going to tell you the story of my heresy armies and why building this model is a big deal for me. I'm going to talk briefly about some upcoming channel content, you know, things to look out for on channel Leakycheese. Might ramble a little bit about the ongoing story of news bulletins we're getting from Games Workshop about 8th edition rules for Warhammer 40,000. I'm going to share a little bit of my excitement about the upcoming Alien Covenant film. I'm also going to rant a bit about the advertising campaign. I might even swear when I get onto that. Gosh, it's been annoying me. And then finally, I've got a battle report for you guys where I played Mechanicum fighting against a friend's Death Guard force, which was a great battle. Well, depending on your perspective, it was great for me, put it that way. So let's think. Shall we start off with these little buttresses? So you can see how they go. And there's 4 of these, one there, one there, one there, and then 1 on each side here. Yeah, they look fairly harmless and innocuous. We can put those on without... To be honest, actually, we want those on first because the other things like the mechadendrite for the skulls have got to fit around those. So I don't want to put these on first because I might obstruct the buttresses, or whatever we call them. I don't know. I'm just calling them I'm calling them buttresses because I can't think of a better word for them. My 40k Heresy Army story. So, as I say, this is the last of my Heresy models that I'm actually assembling now. I'm not counting my Warlord Titan. That's going in its own special snowflake category. And it's just, I mean, the Warlord is more than an army in itself to build. It's just a mind-boggling project to try tackle. So yeah, that's got its own special category, and I'm not including it here. But this is the last model, and I've got 3 Horus Heresy armies I've built over the last, I don't know, 4 years. I've got well, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you them in chronological order that I put them together. So the first army I did was the Mechanicum. And this was around when I first got into the Horus Heresy, which is kind of like around the time of Book 2. And that was my first force. And I got into it because, to be honest, I didn't really want to do Marines. And I love the robots as well. I just love the robots. I mean, and of course, this was at a time when there was only Castellax available and the Talax, so it was quite a limited diaspora of robots at that stage. But I liked them so much, I thought, I'm going to do this. And at that time, of course, it was quite a watershed moment because it was the first time that we'd really had any serious Mechanicum anything serious force-wise in terms of Mechanicum or Adeptus Mechanicus. I'm just going to drop the camera down a touch, so I think you guys will get a better view. Yeah, so that was my first. Now I kind of did a little bit. I then, because I didn't really want to buy any tech thralls, to get a few troops to build the numbers up, I did a tiny little detachment of Iron Hands at that stage, just to kind of like get some dudes to help with an objective to capture. I think at this stage Castellax were actually objective capture units that got changed significantly later on in the interests of balance, and you know, let's be honest, it needed doing because the Castellax were just too dominant. They could do everything. And then finally, so I did that, and that was all cool. And then, but at that point, you see, this was in the first iteration of the Mechanicum rules, and we began to find that my opponents were all Marine Legion, and we began to find that the Mechanicum had significant advantages over them, and the games started to get a little bit on the one-sided side. So I'm going to abandon the Mechanicum, but I wanted something to kind of, I don't know, keep the games fresh and competitive. Then they brought the Solar Auxilia out, which really intrigued me because they were just so unlike anything that had come before them. And they reminded me of, well, let's be honest, they reminded me of the Naughts from Rogue Trooper, from 2000 AD, from many years ago. And I just really liked the look of them. So I then built myself a force of those, and well, I'll leave a link in the description to those guys. Army overview. So I built those, and it wasn't that big of a force points wise, but it took a long time to build because it was a heck of a lot of models, a lot of tanks, a lot of troops. I mean, God, there's like nearly 100 infantry in it, and I'm a self-confessed perfectionist when it comes to assembling models. So that means it always takes me a long time to do these, and I'm not spending like thousands of pounds on these heresy armies and then and do the construction to anything other than 100% satisfaction on my own personal standards. I mean, you know, and I admit they cause me to be slow at building. So yeah, so I then did the Solar Auxilia force, and so right, pause. Right, now next, so I've put the buttresses on. I think I now want to put assemble the sides of the battle pulpit. So there we go. So these, you can see there's these posts and pegs, so they locate nice and positively. That's good. Let's just have a look to make sure they're going to go. So maybe. I wonder if is that straight or not. I guess, does it matter if it's slightly inclined inwards? I think it's supposed to be inclined inwards. Actually, just looking at this. Yeah, okay. I'm just going to stick it as it is. So where was I? Yeah. So I built most of the Auxilia force. I didn't quite build all of it at one go, as you tend to do. I built most of it. Then I built actually the majority of it. So I did all the las rifle troops, all of the Velataris, the Dracosans, the Malcador I bought for it. It was a bit later that they brought the command section out, and I kind of faffed around with assembling that, and that I only assembled that somewhat later. If you go and look at my Solar Auxilia playlist, actually was doing that around the time of when I actually put the command section together. So that was the Solar Auxilia force put together. On the painting front, I've made a deal with myself. I'm not going to start painting any of these forces until I've got all the things built. I'm being a bit stubborn on this one, and even though I've suffered from an absolutely atrocious case of mission creep or project scope, whichever you fancy, in terms of what I've built for my heresy forces. I was like, nope, I'm going to get them all built first, and then I'm going to paint them. I'm not going to leave models unbuilt. I'm going to get the whole lot built. I mean, I guess the other thing is that suits me because I've been able to do lots of gaming as well. Just as well the rate I do stuff. So then I had the Mechanicum, and then I had the Solar Auxilia. So then around this point, the Mechanicum force had got to a good size, and I was thinking, right, what next? And there were some extra bits and pieces that I thought I could add to the Mechanicum. So I was thinking, and I could do with some more Talax, which can arm in a way that I was going to buy a load of Talax with photon thrusters as a special weapon, and the idea was to use the photon thruster troopers as anti-air assets. I didn't really want to fly. I'm not a big fan of flyers in 40k. It's not to say they're not good, and I appreciate, and that's not to say that you can't have good games. And I think if both sides have got flyers, and it helps keep the balance, but it does affect the game meta in a very significant way once you start adding flyers. Just for me, that's not my preference. But anyway, so I was going to add some extra Talax in to give me anti-air capability should I need it. And I bought the models. I went for the usual enormous faff that you have to do with Talax to get parts that aren't mold slit, because I tend to find with Talax, the moulding on the torsos and the hips is very prone to mould slippage. I think just about every set I've had to take parts back and get them swapped. I mean, I've always managed to get ones, but yeah, they're a bit... I mean, I even remember showing some of the slips at one of the... I think I was at Salute, and I was trying to find some in a pack, and one of the Forge World sculptors was there at the time. I'm not going to name him, and I was looking through him. I said, oh, he was actually helping serve, and I actually said, you couldn't get me a couple more packs because I got these mold slips, and he looked at them and said, oh yeah, gosh, I see what you mean there. So he seemed a bit surprised to see that, but anyway, I got it sorted in the end. Anyway, then I was thinking, right, okay, well, to finance this, I'm going to sell what I've got left of the Iron Hands. Don't need these guys. They're just a bit of a sideshow to the main event. And I'm going to use thicker glue on this because I need to put it in a slightly different position. Yeah, so I photographed them all up, got them ready to sell, and this included the glaive, which was I know you might not believe this, but the glaive was actually a bit of a whimsy buy. I really bought it just because I love the model. I gamed with it, but the main reason I bought it is I just love the model so much. It's just such an awesome tank. It really is. It's incredible. Awesome looking tank. Yeah. So I got everything photographed up, ready to sell, and it was all listed on eBay, and I thought, I can't do this. These are too nice. I've put too much effort and work into doing these. Yeah, and then, I don't know, I got chatting with one of my mates about my force, and one thing led to another, and then before I knew what I was doing, I'd made a decision to start work on a Legion force, and by God, look where that took me. So yeah, so I then embarked on doing the Iron Hands force, and those of you who've seen my video will appreciate that the Iron Hands force got quite big. Yeah, so yeah, that's probably one of the reasons I didn't get around to finishing this guy, because I got distracted. I also got to the point where it was blue tacked together enough to be able to use in game, so I was a bit lazy in that regard as well. That was kind of where I got to. So yeah, I've spent an awful lot of time building these forces, as in assembling them, and well, I guess buying them as well. And this Archmagos is the last model to build out of what I've got, believe it or not. So this is really end of the road as it is at the moment. Now, I'm not counting the custodians because they've come later, and again, that's a bit of a whimsy buy. So, but really, these guys, this is kind of like a big deal. This is like me assembling the last of my original run of Heresy models. So yeah, here we are. Now, of course, then that begs a question: Leakycheese, are you going to buy any more Horus Heresy models? And the answer to that is, well, of course I am. I've got all the effective willpower of a soggy paper towel for resisting Forge World's Horus Heresy models, so I'm sure I'm going to buy more. Yeah, so I doubt this is the end of the road. I mean, once... what I've got any future plans? I mean, yeah, obviously paint the damn things, and I'm sure quite a few of you will enjoy that. and invariably I will end up making some content around painting these guys, because it's going to be awesome fun. Well, it's going to be a lot of hard work, but it will be awesome fun in the end. And I don't know, I do have plans to buy some Ad Secularis for my Mechanicum. You know, like the cheapo mech thrall, tech thrall troops. I do intend to buy some of those guys. I need some cheap. There's two reasons I want to get some tech thralls. Firstly, I need some cheap objective camper troops, and secondly, I need something to tone down my Mechanicum force for end of play. And I'll come to that when I get to the battle report, because, you know, let's be honest, Mechanicum can be hard to fight. They can be very hard to fight, and if you're a bit of a rules analyst like I am, you can make some very, very potent lists with a Mechanicum, and you can do it without actually trying that. Well, my friends will probably disagree, but you can do it without trying too hard. So yeah, there we go. Anyway, so that's kind of an appropriate point to leave that topic about the story of my heresy collecting, with sticking that last segment of the abeyant on, or the tech pulpit. I mean, and you got to give it to the sculptor on this. They have done an absolute amazing job. I mean, the detail is absolutely stunning. Just love the Vox Bellicosa. That's great. Yeah, absolutely splendid stuff. So that's that. So I think now we're all onto tubes and pipes. We can do these first. We don't need any hot water to do these. So we'll do those, and then I'll go grab some hot water, and we'll get onto the bendy bit for our little skulls on sticks, which I appear to have lost one off. Oh, there it is, yeah, 4. Yeah, skulls on sticks. They'll look less like sticks. Right, topic number 2. What should we have next? Oh, go on, let me have a little bit on 8th edition. Well, 8th edition, what is going on there? So I hope you've been enjoying my little series on the 8th edition, and basically this consists of me reading the posts that have been going up on the Warhammer community website, you know, producing my little famous high quality graphic bit, and then sharing some thoughts and having some chats about what they've said. And they've been feeding us some good stuff on what's going to be in 8th, and I do like that. After the shaky start on the actual FAQ, which, you know, I did lay into them a bit for, you know, and I say justifiably. I know maybe not all you guys appreciated that, but the FAQ I didn't appreciate that. I didn't like the lack of professionalism with how it was produced. You know, sending stuff out with grammatical and spelling errors on a big deal like that. You're a professional company, you're Games Workshop. This is a big deal to your customers. You know, your normal communications don't normally have mistakes like that in it, so this one shouldn't either. Anyway, that's water under the bridge now, because the subsequent Warhammer community posts talking about 8th edition content have been very good, and so I hope you've been enjoying that. I like the direction that 8th appears to be in the moment. I mean, I think some people have got a slightly different perspective because of the fact they have experience of Age of Sigmar, and from all the comments I hear, there's a lot of Age of Sigmar filtering into 8th. You know, 8th edition is going to, I think it is going to be a shock to the system for some of us, and I do worry that Games Workshop might leave some players behind, and I do sincerely hope that they don't abandon anyone with any of their armies that they've built, and I hope that Games Workshop is sympathetic to how they have led the fan base with all their formations and special rules and all that yada-da in 7th edition, because Games Workshop do lead people, and when Games Workshop produce a set of rules or a way of creating a specialised army, people do that. They put a lot of time and effort and money into buying the models, building them, converting them, painting them. I think it's then important that Games Workshop don't give them the middle finger as they change editions. So I'm not saying that unbalanced formations, which, let's be honest, 7th edition was riddled with, I'm not saying those should be translated word for word. However, I hope the general organisation that they did allow people to work to in 7th edition is sympathetically dealt with in 8th. so people don't have redundant models in their collections. So yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, as I say, I like the sound of it. You know, I said in my last video on it that I thought GW had hacked my iPad and nicked a load of ideas that me and some friends put together 18 months ago on how to change 7th. But they're clearly thinking in the same way that me and my mates were about how 7th should be changed. While I very much enjoyed 7th and the Horus Heresy. I've really enjoyed 7th and the Horus Heresy. Really enjoyed it. It's been great, but it's not without its faults, and I think even a couple of my mates have commented that the fact that they think that planning for Horus Heresy games is challenging and the army lists are complex, and they wouldn't object to seeing something more streamlined, and that is one of the things that GW is clearly responding to. Now, that's not to say to abandon the principles of what, not to say for Forge World to abandon the principles of what they're doing in the Heresy, which, and certainly things like, the way they built the armies, the theme of it, the style of it, they shouldn't abandon that. However, updating Heresy to 8th edition, which looks like it's going to be a more streamlined set of rules, is a good thing. For me anyway. And, but, I've got one opinion and everyone's got a valid opinion on this. And I really am concerned and nervous that Games Workshop might leave players behind. And I sincerely hope they don't. And if they do, they'll be getting some stick off me. They will be getting some stick off Leakycheese. Over on my iPad I've got the Forge World page open on Draykavac, and I've got to try to figure out where the heck all these tubes go. Okay, right, let me see if I got this out. Right, so we've got nozzly bits on the left hand side and manipulated fronds on the right hand side. Okay, don't know if these need pinning or not. Oh, right, that's got a flat spot on it deliberately. That's going to go there. Excellent. Although that's going to need a bit of heat bent. Oh, no, maybe not. I think I might need to do an early acquisition of some heat here. No, maybe not. I quite like that. I was just dangling, just swinging in the breeze as you do. This one going to kind of sit on top of this pile here. This is what happens when I come on and do this video and don't do my prep properly, figuring out exactly what goes where, how, when and with whom. So I do apologise for that lack of professionalism. Right, while I'm trying to figure this out, let me start on my next topic. And my next topic is Alien Covenant. So, Alien Covenant. I am a very enthusiastic fan of the Alien films. Let me put an asterisk after that. I am an enormous fan of Alien. I am an enormous fan of Aliens. These two films had a very big impact on me when I watched them when I grew up. I mean, I watched them at far too young an age and they scared the shucks out of me. But artistically and thematically, they blew me away, and they still blow me away today. And Alien and Aliens is still arguably the best example in cinematic history of how to do a sequel. The other strong contender for me is Terminator and Terminator 2. They're another one that rank for me. I mean, there's other good ones as well, but those are up there for me. I mean, Alien 3. Alien 3 was very well acted, and there's some excellent actors in it, and the cast is brilliant. The film suffered badly from the whole creative process, and it was just messed around with again and again, and it got rewritten again and again, and the whole thing got really compromised from the word go because of all that. Well, just a lot of indecision on all sorts of levels, and trying to get the producer, director, all that sort of stuff. But the actual film was good, and well, if you watch the director's cut, the extended edition, the film is much better than the original theatrical cut. And if you've not seen the extended edition, and you are on the fence about the film, or even if you hate the film, I would recommend it to you because it does change. It does change the film in some important ways, and it makes it better. I can't forgive the film for killing off Bishop, Newt, and Hicks. That was just, for me, that was just no. You've killed off these awesome characters. You didn't need to do that. I mean, even with they could, I mean, yeah, they could have moved the story on a few years and cast someone older to play Newt if they want to bring it back. But killing it off, yeah. Anyway, but now we have Alien Covenant. Now I have very mixed feelings on Prometheus. I still can't make my mind up if I love it or if I hate it. I love it. I love the casting on it, with the exception of the dude who played the boyfriend of Naomi Rapace's character. I wasn't that fond by him. He didn't do anything for me. But the rest of the film was well cast, I felt, and I enjoyed it. And I loved its horror themes. I loved the idea of exploring, getting the correct mechadendrites or something to explore. Exploring the themes that it did, but I absolutely hated the parts of the storyline, and the sheer stupidity of the human science team was absolute. It just made me cringe. It's just like, are you seriously that dumb? Are you seriously going to blunder into this alien spaceship and, well, this alien temple in such a blasé way and do all these stupid things? Have you no respect for the possibilities of contamination and all that sort of stuff? Yeah, that annoyed me. And then the geologist getting lost, I was just like, no, that's just crap. That doesn't happen. Too much of a plot device. Yeah, that annoyed the heck out of me with the film. But then again, there are other good bits. I mean, the character of David was evil brilliance at its best. I loved him. Michael Fassbender did a fantastic job with his portrayal of David. I really liked Naomi Rapace as Shaw. She was great. I like that. I like the body horror of the scene with the Medipod or the surgery pod. That was great, and yeah, that was fantastic. Although not one for pregnant women in to watch. God, but that was a bit like the scene in Aliens vs Predator Requiem. God, the scene with the maternity ward flipping out. That was a stomach churning one. Even I thought that was stomach churning. I once lent the film to a mate and said, "Oh, I'll watch it with." He said, "Oh, I'll watch it with my wife." And I said, "Just," and I explained that scene to him. And for reasons, I said, thanks for that. I might not actually, after all. Yeah, that was pretty horrendous. That was. It was legit horror. Don't get me wrong. It was, part of what I liked about that film was just the idea of what the heck it would be like if the aliens got to Earth. But I'm not saying it's a good film. I'm saying it was a trashy, fun film. So going off topic there, but yeah. So Prometheus, I've very, very mixed feelings on. Alien Covenant, I've watched an interview with Ridley Scott where he's explained what he's aiming to do with the film, and I like what he's trying to do with the film. So I'm excited in that regard. I'm also hesitant because of what he did with Prometheus, i.e. he created a great film with amazing pacing. The plot was just had some really annoying bits to it. So I hope he hasn't made the same mistake with Alien Covenant. So I am excited to see it, and I'll always give an Alien franchise film a chance. Now, however, there is something that has really got on my nerves with the Alien franchise film, and that is the advertising campaign. And by God, the advertising campaign has really, really got on my nerves for two reasons. And this is going to be a bit of a rant, so, get ready. Right, just let me check who which distributor it is. Okay, so the distributor for Alien Covenant is 20th Century Fox. 20th Century Fox's media division have been annoying the heck out of me with their media campaign for two reasons. Firstly, they just won't stop producing new trailers which are full of content. I had to stop myself with Alien Covenant trailers. I watched the first one and it's like, no, there's too much in there, don't do it again. I'm not watching any more trailers. So I made a decision I wasn't going to watch anymore, and I've stuck to that. So yeah, 20th Century Fox, could you just cut it the heck out with the adverts, with the number of adverts, and stop putting adverts together that give so much of a plot away. Go watch the original Alien advert and look how cleverly that builds suspense without showing you much of what happens in the film. Do the same for Aliens. Alien Covenant, there's just so many trailers. Now I've only watched the original trailer, but that was too much for me. But all these other ones, it's just like, oh, for crying out loud. But that's not what really annoyed me, and this is a bit where I'm going to swear. Now, I don't normally swear in my videos because that's a reflection of me in real life. But there's one thing that has really, really made me cross with 20th Century Fox's film division, and in this regard, I'm telling them to just fuck off because of what they've been doing. Right, what they've been doing is they've been trying to get adverts for Alien Covenant at low certifications to penetrate media very thoroughly. And this includes the original trailer, which features some pretty hard content in my view, such as the scene where the guy and the girl are making out in the shower and the alien comes along, gets the guy and the woman gets sprayed in his blood. This, believe it or not, got certified as a 12A trailer, which in my mind, it was a 15 trailer. And that annoyed me because I've taken my children to see 12A films. You know, my children are age 11 and 9, so they're at an age where I can do that. When I went to see Ghost in the Shell, they had a trailer. So Ghost in the Shell was 12A. They had the trailer for Alien Covenant in it, and I couldn't believe it that they had this trailer in this film. And it's just stop it. Just stop doing this. You know, you do not need to be advertising this film in these sort of environments. The whole Aliens film is they're very mature themes. There's a lot of horror. There's a lot of sexual violence in there. Why are you trying to make these certifiable to show to kids? And then there was a second occurrence, and this is the one that made me even angrier in a way, because it wasn't even in the setting of the film. So a couple of weekends ago, I was doing some painting, and my eldest child, Dragon Master, you all know from giveaway video fame, was doing some painting with me. And as we often do when we're getting a bit of quality painting time in, we had some YouTube sillies going, and I think we had, I think we were watching, like, I don't know, naughty dogs or something, the sort of thing where the dog, people have filmed in the home, and the dogs tip the trash out, and it's got the bin lid on its head, and it's all hilarious, and the dog looks sort of like cute little guilty face on. Pretty harmless stuff, and I filter it to make sure you don't get any swearing and all that. Anyway, so at the start, between videos, a blooming 5-second viral trailer for flipping Alien Covenant pops up to one where I think Naomi Rapace says, "Where is it?" And then I believe what my daughter told me after seeing this by accident, what happens is the alien is shown emerging from some body of water, and it's just like, Fox, fuck off! Stop trying to create videos for this horror film which can be shown on such low age-rated platforms. I couldn't believe it. I was absolutely fuming. I mean, fortunately, she didn't kind of really twig what was going on, and she actually kind of said, "Oh, I thought it was kind of cute," and I thought, that's a first, hearing the alien described as kind of cute. And I explained a bit that it's not cute, and it's it's really not, it's not for children at all. It's very grown up. So she understood that, and I said, you know, don't watch any more pop up. But it's just just stop it, Fox. It's not big, it's not clever, and yeah, just stop it. But yeah, so that just kind of epitomizes my annoyance with the never-ending stream of adverts and the viral advertising for Alien Covenant. I like some of the viral advertising I did from Prometheus, like the David advert. I mean, that was really good, very clever. But Alien Covenant, no. The whole advertising campaign has just annoyed the heck out of me. So yeah, anyway, I only have a few more days to go to keep my mind pure of these adverts, and then I can actually enjoy the film at the cinema without having the surprise spoiled. And comments, please don't start spilling the beans about the trailers. So yeah, anyway, that's the rant over on Alien Covenant trailer rant. And apologies for swearing if you don't appreciate swearing, but in this instance, it had to be said. Right, next topic is battle report. So, just on that, let's have a brief pausette. So, this is coming together nicely. I've got the last of these large tubey things to attach, and then we can do the skulls on sticks, and then we are getting pretty close to completion of this Archmagos model. Right, battle reports. So, I think it's 2 weeks ago now, a couple of weeks ago I did this game, so some of the details might be a little bit fuzzy. I'll try my best to recall. 2,000 point game, and I played with my Mechanicum, and I played against my mate's Death Guard force. It was Horus Heresy. It was an Age of Darkness battle. We fought it was fought in urban terrain, so it was sort of ruined buildings. There was a burnt out bus. We've got a nice burnt out bus model. You know, and a few other bits and pieces laying around from, you know, whatever had happened. Right, so the forces. Right, my army, so this was a game which it wasn't a competitive game at all. It was a proper friendly game, and I'd asked my friend, would you mind in our next game if we can play a game where I can use my Mechanicum armor force? Now, I asked him if he minded this because hardcore Mechanicum armor forces, well, I think if you're ever going to play a game where you field a lot of armour, it's not a bad thing just to have a little chat with your opponent. If you're playing friendly, I mean, you know, and this is the antithesis of the WAAC school of thought, and, you know, well, each to their own. But it's a nice thing to say to your opponent, by the way, I've got a force I'd like to try. It's mainly built up, it's got a lot of tanks in it. Is that okay with you if we play it in this game? Just so I'll check so you know, and so you can build your army accordingly. So that's kind of like a nice thing to do, and we'd had this chat, and he was like, yeah, okay, no, that's fine, I understand what you want to do. So I was like, yeah, thanks for that, mate, I really appreciate that. So I had a load of Mechanicum tanks I'd never used. I need to go get some hot water now. Back in a sec. Right, okay, so we've done some heat bending. Right, because the video is getting quite long and I need to keep it within an hour just for simplicity of adding music to the edit. I've done a bit of work off camera. So what have I done? I've heat positioned the 4 mechadendrite skulls. I've pinned them all. So I've put a pin in of this, was it 0.25 millimeter piano wire. So I've put 4 pins in, and I've also drilled holes for said pins into these apertures where they mount. And I've also done a pin in the wrist of the Archmagos for mounting and securing the power axe. So I don't want that coming off. And then finally, I've heat bent this mechadendrite, and this is cute, this is as well. This is as cute as Mechanicum get. You can see here we've got a little servo skull, which is kind of giving a little pat. Oh, bless. Then that mechadendrite is going to mount in there like so. That's what I've done, so let's crack on and get this guy together. I'll do the Archmagos first. I'm not going to stick the skulls yet. I'm going to think about those because I might leave them off for purposes of painting. So I can see those being an absolute, well, getting in the way for painting. So I'm they'll push fit, and I'll push fit to show you how I've orientated them for the purposes of this video, but I'm not going to glue them yet. Right, So there's the mechadendrite for the servo skull. Now, you can kind of mount this all over the place. With these things, I tend to try be careful in terms of how I mount these delicate parts, and you can see how I've mounted it so it's trailing across the back of the Archmagos. It's actually, I've got a contact point here and I'm going to glue it, and that's for strength because these can be very fragile, and I think it's probably intended to be that way because of the way the servo skull is orientated. So I'm just going to dab a bit of glue in. There's a contact point. There, right. And that'll just give it a bit of strength because I had a similar thing when I did my mechadendrites on my Midon Destructors. Just very, I mean, you can do all sorts of weird and wacky poses and that's fine, but I guess, you know, no issues if you're doing them as display models only, but if you're like myself and you're a gamer, I really don't want those delicate mechadendrites poking around all over the place. Getting broken, but also they can just get in the way of putting your model in cover in the battlefield. That could be an absolute pain, particularly if it makes a difference between winning or losing a game. You know, like, this is serious stuff, guys. Right, there we go. So got a little bit of glue on there. Let's just remove the excess. This is always excess glue. I always think it's better to put a bit more on and remove the excess than not have enough. Right, so that's that done. Right, let's do this power axe. And we're nearly done actually. Right, so I was talking about my battle report, wasn't I? We may actually run out of time on that. I'm not going to have a chance to do it in its full gory details I normally do, but yeah, my force was an armoured Mechanicum force, and I took all my tanks. So I had my Macrocarad Explorator, I had my new Karachnos assault tank, I had 2 Krios battle tanks, 2 Thanatar, standard Thanatars, and then, ooh, what else did I have? I had an Archmagos with the trimmings. It didn't have any guns, but it was a Ordo Reductor Archmagos. I did the Forces Ordo Reductor to get an extra heavy support slot so I could split my Krios tanks up. There's an Ordos, Reductor Prime, is it? Archmagos Reductor Prime, I just forget. He was very tough because they always are. I bought him in Jinsky and I bought him 4 Cyber Ocularis, and that gave me the targeting goodness that I needed. And yeah, I had 2 squads of Talax, each had a multi-melter. Suffice to say, this game was a bad game for the Death Guard. I mean, the Death Guard, they had a Spartan, they had 10 Lascannon Marines, they had a usual complement of tacticals, but to get all the things he had now. What else did he have? I'm sure he had more armour. But yeah, it was a bad game for the Death Guard. I pretty much tabled him in 3 turns. Yeah, so that was harsh, and all I lost was 4 Talax, and I took an odd hull point here and there, and a couple of Thanatars took wounds, and I even repaired one of those. So it was very one-sided, and I did feel bad for my buddy. He had some bad luck. On his first turn, he fired 14 Lascannon shots at the Thanatars, and he only scored, I think, 2 wounds, which wasn't that great an outcome, I didn't think. You know, I think if he'd had more par luck, he had a decent chance of taking one down. So, yeah, I did feel bad for him on that front. He did have some bad luck, but nonetheless, the Mechanicum armoured force was deadly effective. It was very, very good. So yeah, so because of that, I want to get some Ad Secularis at some point to just get some slightly less horrifically nasty troops in there to kind of like, you know, if I want to play a more gentle force, if that's the way of putting it, I can do so. You know, and sometimes that's not a bad thing either. You know, I don't think my force was it was far from unreasonable. You can make worse Mechanicum build. Probably wasn't the gentlest of forces though either. That was my little battle. So that was a fun game. It's fun for me anyway. I think that's most of the things I want to get through. Oh, I think I forgot to talk about upcoming content. So I need to do that before we finish, and we're running out of time rapidly. And we're running out of things to assemble rapidly as well. Upcoming content. Right, there's 2 things that I'm working on at the moment, which I hope to have out this week. The first is the second full episode in my What Made 40k series, and I'm sure a lot of you guys will be excited to see this. I mean, the original video was well, for me, was hugely popular, and at the moment it's got about 14,500 views, so that was a surprising hit, that one. So this second part is about the book Starship Troopers, the classic science fiction novel, a really, really influential book. Bit of controversy in it as well, which is nice. I like a bit of controversy. So that is the second episode, so I am currently doing the visual editing on that, and I hope to have that up this week. And then the second thing, and this goes back to my little painting session with, I was talking about earlier when I got a bit annoyed with the Alien Covenant advert, I was touching up my 1980s, or late 1980s World Eater Marines, which I'm going to be doing so Slaves to Darkness era World Eater Force, Traitor Legionnaires to use a proper terminology. I'm going to be doing a Retro Hammer episode on these guys. They've been around a fair while, and they've been through a few knocks and bops, and they're in need of a little bit of touch up before I put them on camera. So yeah, I was doing that. So that's my second thing I want to get out this week, which is Retro Hammer, Slaves to Darkness era World Eaters. Right, so that's his little tentacliness stuck onto his base. So tip for building this: if you build one of these, before you stick your Archmagos on, put the base in. Then you can position him to make sure he fits with the control console there. Now the next thing is I'm going to find I can't get the little fella out. Tinker, that's what it's called. My Archmagos is called Archmagos Tinker. Oops, going to be called Archmagos Broken in a second. Yeah, Tinker. Tinker by name, Tinker by nature. I just need to fill that in a bit, but doesn't really notice. Right, so we need to stick this on the base. Gosh, where does this thing go? I think this is going to have a load of tentacles trailing out the back. So I don't want it mounted too far forward, but if you mount it so you haven't got any tentacle trail, then you've got it sticking out. I can't help but think this should have been mounted on the next size up. This should have been on blooming 80mm base. Have a look at the studio one, see how they did it. Ah, right, okay. So I didn't like that, lost tentacles, fair enough. Alright, let's get some glue on this puppy. Don't want it too far forward because I want this one here to have some good contact. Otherwise they're going to break. I should probably use this bit here as a guide. So I think I need to align this bit here with the rear of the base, fair enough. Alright, so let's spread this glue around a bit for better attachment. So coming towards the end of this little session, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm going to have to wrap this fairly quickly and briskly, but yeah, that's everything I've got to say. A few topics there. As always, interested to hear your comments and your thoughts about what I've discussed. You know, are you excited about? Are you excited for Alien Covenant? Are you looking forward to that, or do you think Ridley Scott has just completely killed it since he got his hands, since he did Prometheus? So yeah, I'd be interested to hear your views on that. Excited. As I say, I'm excited to see this new Aliens film, or Alien franchise film. I think, well, we'll see. We'll see. If Ridley Scott sticks to his brief and doesn't get too carried away with too much focus on the film's pacing, and tries to focus more on the importance of the plot and keeping his characters sensible, got some great potential. A little bit of accelerant there just to get those glued on quickly. So yeah, I'm quite happy with, actually, yeah, very pleased with that position. Nice and central, got that bit in the right spot at the back. Right, I'm going to push fit these servo skulls, or I don't know what you call them. mechadendrite skulls. They're kind of his I don't know, his observer array. We'll do the I'm going to do the weapon magnetisation later. Not really significant for final assembly. Not sure if I may glue these. I might leave them unglued for painting purposes. So got those guys on. Awesome looking thing. Crazy. And then finally let's drop Archmagos Tinkerboard. There you go, that is the finished thing. So there you have it. Forge World's Horus Heresy character series, Archmagos Draykavac, without the Draykavac head, with the what I'm calling Archmagos Tinker's head. Excellent stuff. Well, anyway, I hope you've really enjoyed listening to my ramblings again and watching me build this chappy. It's been a bit hectic, but it's been fun. As I say, that is the last of my Horus Heresy models finally done. Hooray! Myself a little pat on the back there. Well done, Leakycheese. Thank you very much for watching. I will speak to you next time, and goodbye.